Welcome. Didn't really come from anywhere. I just started this episode today. Nothing happened before it. I don't know why I'm saying welcome back. Be professional, Dan. Alright, so today I forgot to title this video because I didn't do one of these live streams in a while, so I forgot to even title it. But let's just start it and then I'll start talking. Ronald.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Okay.
Alright, so today I'm gonna be working on this character. He's laughing on the floor and kicking his feet. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna make an animation with a headless body, and then it's gonna be kicking, and then I'll make another layer with the head, and then I'll lip sync the head movements up with the sound of the laughing. But anyway, yeah. I was thinking I need to re-record the music for the intro, because when I recorded that, I basically had a drum machine on my computer, and then I just plotted out the beats, and then I plotted out bass notes, and then I just kind of recorded the audio with my webcam. And I didn't use like a professional microphone, so it sounds very unclear and almost staticky. So I've always wanted to re-record that theme song. But the thing is, I originally recorded that when I was I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and I was I played guitar completely different. Like, my guitar style was very I don't know, I feel like I could play faster, and it wasn't as imaginative, but it was like maybe edgier, and it's just edgier and more rock and roll oriented. I don't know if that makes sense. But now, like, when I play, well, I haven't really played that song. I hadn't been playing it. Like, a lot of my songs I've been playing for years, and so they kind of are burned into my brain. But that song is kind of weird. Like, it's not even in, I think it's in a weird key for guitar. Like, I'm trying to think of what key it's in. I think it's in, like, G sharp. So it's a little strange. So anyway, I've been trying to I've been going down in the basement and practicing that song, like without a drum. Like I'd play the drums now, and so I've been trying to practice it with drums so it sounds more organic, because before it was with a drum machine, and I wrote drum tracks that I've actually already recorded the drum tracks, and I've already recorded the bass tracks live, so hopefully it'll sound more organic. But the guitar parts, I don't like. I like the way I played the theme song on the on the recording that I've been using, but I don't know. I don't really play it that way. Like, because when I played that, I played the riff and then I just improvised. And I like the things that I improvised, but I'd never really figured out how to play that stuff. I just made it up off the top of my head. But now when I make things up off the top of my head with guitar, I don't know, there's less attack. Like, it's a little bit more artful. It's a little bit more interesting, but I don't have the speed and the... Like, I just play guitar differently from how I played back then. So anyway, I'm trying to figure out how to play some interesting stuff to use for that, the quote-unquote Ghosty Films theme song. But the riff part, is gonna be the same, I think. And and yeah, and I'm hoping to be able to have a nice clean copy of that song that's not all, you know, I'm trying to think what's the word I want to use to describe it. Like that, like the sound quality of that other one is just so, it's like staticky. It's almost like it's blurry in an audio sense instead of a visual sense. Like, it's just staticky, and you know, it's muffled. And hopefully hopefully I'll be able to record a copy of it where everything's nice and crisp. Like, I got the unique drums where I go, how did I do it? I feel weird beatboxing in front of a microphone, but you can't even hear my foot, so oh well. I just want a nice, clean, neat theme song that I can use. I think maybe I won't draw the head yet. Alright, so I drew, I'm gonna delete this. No, actually I don't want to delete that. I will erase everything but the head, because I want to kind of keep that there so I remember approximately how big it was and where it was situated. But I don't want it to be confused by all these yellow lines, so I'm gonna erase them. But yeah, I want, like, at some point I'd like to put together some public access episodes of cartoons and stuff, and I'm hoping to use that theme song for that. Alright, so let's see. I'm gonna make this into an object so I can loop it. So I'm gonna make an animation of this leg kicking up and then back down, and then this leg is gonna do the opposite of what that leg did while he's laughing, and then I'm just gonna loop that short animation over and over again until it lasts this span of time here. I have a pencil in my pocket and I think it's stabbing through my pants. Alright. Not that everyone needed to know that, but alright, let's get this done. Stop yammering, Dan. So let's see, that's locked, that's unlocked. Convert to symbol. What should I call this? Steven laughs and kicks. I don't know. I wonder if I should include this head. No, that wouldn't make any sense. Alright, whatever. Let's get this done. Label my layers. I was at my friend Pete's house for Christmas Eve dinner. And like one of his cousins was talking about how he was going to be an animator, and he was taking classes to be in animation. I kind of hope that he pursues it, because I feel like I don't know any animators, and I kind of want like an animation business partner or something. So if I know one person who's into animation, like, that would speed up production, provided that we wanted to work on the same projects. The thing about art, group projects and art, is that a lot of the time people are not on the same page. And sometimes people are just too dumb to realize that, like, you know, like if you look at the Beatles, Paul McCartney seemed like he was the music guy, and John Lennon seemed like he was the lyric guy. And when you listen to Paul McCartney albums after the Beatles, they're musically interesting oftentimes, but lyrically they're just lacking. And John Lennon albums often seem like they're lyrically interesting, but they're lacking musically. Like the guitar is just less interesting. And like, I wonder if they realize that. Like, some people don't. Some people, I think sometimes artists are just like, oh, I'm the star. Everything relies on me. Oh, these people would be nothing without me. Like in that Freddie Mercury movie recently, where everybody was telling Freddie Mercury that he was like, you're the star, you should have a solo career. But then in the movie he was like, oh, I actually realized that I need these guys. Like, he had a great voice, but a contributing factor was the musicianship of the other guys. And when he went solo, all of the music was just like, synthesizers and drum machines and soullessness. And that's a problem with, I think, with artists sometimes, is that, you know, they think that their ideas are the best and that the other person's ideas are not as good. But if I was going to work on an animation project with somebody else, that's something I'd have to think about. Like, not being the overbearing boss guy. Let's see, how do I want to do this? Is that fast enough? So I put... Alright, so now this leg needs to go up. Let's see how this looks. Why did you make his knee go up like that, Dan? You goofball. This looks weird. Oops. Lost track of where my cursor was. Did I do that right? Why do his knees look so I feel like when I sketched this out, I just kind of did it very sloppily. It's Christmas. It's the day after Christmas, which I think is technically Boxing Day. I don't know what that means. I think it has something to do with like consumerism, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty certain it's not. It doesn't involve boxing, like the professional American boxing where people punch each other. Christmas, after Christmas bloodbath. I think that's like an English thing. I don't really celebrate Christmas. I'm not religious, and I don't really like owning things, and I don't really have the money to just be buying people presents. And sometimes people invite me to Christmas, and like I don't have the money to be buying them stuff, and I tell them don't buy me anything, but then they always do buy me stuff, and I feel like a total asshole because it's just like I can't afford to be buying everybody presents, and it's just like I don't know. I find the materialistic element of Christmas to be very depressing, and I don't really like to participate. But I do like Christmas music and stuff. I mean, I don't really consider myself, I'm not a Christian. But at the same time, if somebody says Merry Christmas to me, I don't throw a tantrum. I don't poop in my pants like some people do. I just say, yeah, Merry Christmas to you too. Even though I don't really have any intention of celebrating Christmas. But I guess some people are like, yeah, it's Happy Holidays. Like if somebody said Happy Hanukkah to me, I'd be like, Happy Hanukkah to you too. Like, what's the big deal? If somebody was like, Happy Ramadan. Hey, Happy Ramadan to you. And then I just go about my day. Like, why dwell on something so stupid? It's just like a moment in time that you can easily get past. But I feel like, I don't know, there's so many professional outrage people out there who are just looking for something to scream about. I watched Die Hard yesterday. I haven't seen Die Hard in like, I don't know, maybe over 10 years. Die Hard, I guess I watched it because it was Christmas, and people always say Die Hard is a Christmas movie. And I don't know, I just decided to watch it. But I guess it's kind of a cliche idea that people debate over whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. I don't know, as a comedian, I hate thinking thoughts that are thought by lots of other people. Like, I try to be original, but I don't know, I was just thinking, like, I don't know, maybe I'll watch Die Hard. I haven't seen it in years. But it's kind of interesting, like, how Lethal Weapon 1 also kind of, it started off with I think it was Jingle Bell Rock? No, it was some kind of 50s Christmas song. But it's kind of interesting how like two mainstream gunfighting action movies both started with like a Christmas theme. See if I can make this look a little less garbagey. Why does that look dumb? So this is like the midway. That's the one extreme, and that's the other extreme. So I should have... I'm going to move this to another layer and block this for a second because I want to just look at that and not be distracted by the other leg movements. I'm going to make this one a little bit different, even though it's kind of like the same position. I feel like it looks a little bit more organic if I redraw a frame that I could just reuse sometimes. Like I don't know. I think I'd rather it look a little bit better by not cutting corners, like Dave Thomas would do. I'm losing track of my mouse cursor. I just had to change the batteries in this mouse. I was wasting time playing a stupid game the other day, and then my mouse just stopped working. But it would have been really weird if I was doing this and then my mouse stopped working. And then I was like, oh, I gotta go to the store now to get some batteries. And then there's just dead air for however long it took to go to the store. Yeah, Die Hard. While it is a good movie, now that I'm 10 years older than when I last saw it, probably, it seemed like it had a very different feel. Like, I just thought about it differently. Because I remember there was a scene in Die Hard where John McClane was jumping down through an elevator shaft and he fell a few stories and then caught onto an air duct with the tips of his fingers. And I remember I was watching that as a kid with my dad, and my dad was like, that's just silly. That would never happen. But, like, as a kid, I wanted John McClane to be like a real person who was doing things that could actually be done. Like, I wanted it to feel like it has a certain amount of authenticity because I liked it so much. But I was watching that now and I was like, yeah, that is kind of goofy. And then I was like, I'm in a action movie funk now. And so I watched Lethal Weapon immediately after Die Hard. And I gotta say, I like Lethal Weapon 2. I haven't actually seen any of those movies in a long time. It might have been 10 years since I saw those movies too. Maybe if I watched them all now that I'm older, maybe I would have a different opinion on all of them. But anyway, I never did like Lethal Weapon 1. Like, I always liked Lethal Weapon 2, 3, and 4. But Lethal Weapon 1, I just hate it. I think I need one more frame over here. Lethal Weapon 1, it's, you know, and I was watching it yesterday, and I was just thinking about how creepy it is. There were creepy moments, but then there were also... It was also kind of weird and corny. Like, it was written by somebody with very little life experience or something. Like Martin Riggs just seemed like he was I don't know. You know how if somebody tells you that if somebody tells you that he's cool, it's like, okay, this person's not cool. Cool people don't tell you that they're cool. It almost seemed like somebody was just thinking, like, what are the coolest things a person could do? Oh, he's a Green Beret. And he's like suicidal and crazy. He's emotionally disturbed. But, you know, I don't know, it just seems so contrived. And then there was that really creepy scene where Danny Glover was in the bathtub in the beginning. And he was naked, he was in the bathtub, And then his whole family bursts into the bathroom and it's like, happy birthday! And they have a cake, and he's like naked. And then his little kids are, talking to him while he's naked in the bathtub. And then his like teenage daughter is like crouches down next to the bathtub and gets all close and intimate while her father's nude in the bathtub. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? They couldn't wait for him to be done with his bath before they just stormed into the bathroom and surprised him. Like, couldn't they wait for him to be like maybe have a towel around him and just step out of the bathroom, and then they're waiting for him out? Like, what? I don't know. It's just creepy. It's like, wow, this family is intimate. That's like a bizarre level of intimacy. They just this family just walks around like with their dicks flopping out, and they don't even mind at all. Like, they don't care. I don't know. I guess my father occasionally walked around nude, but like it was like a rare thing. Like, he just, I don't know. Like, I saw my father nude a couple times, but I mean, it's not like I just sit down and have like a heartfelt conversation with him while he, like, his junk was flapping around. It's just weird. And then and then they cut immediately to Martin Riggs in his little trailer home on the beach, and he's nude for some reason. He's just like walking around like, hey, here's a gratuitous shot of his butt. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know. Like, Lethal Weapon 1, I like how you can kind of see the camaraderie between Riggs and Murtaugh that you see in later films that I like so much. But I don't know, there's just all this awkwardness, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just like it feels so clunky compared to the sequels. I think I'm gonna watch Lethal Weapon 2 later. I was listening to I don't know, something on YouTube, like an old radio show where they're talking about they were talking about the best sequels of all time, and Lethal Weapon 2 is supposed to be one of the best sequels. I don't know if I've ever seen the entire Lethal Weapon 2 that wasn't edited for television, because like, when you're my age and you're growing up, a lot of the movies that you see are edited for TV. And I don't think I'd ever seen Lethal Weapon. I don't know if I've ever seen the entire thing. I feel like it's one of those movies where it comes on TV and it's like, like a quarter of the way through the movie, and then one time you watch you see the start of it, but then you gotta go somewhere and you can't watch the end. Like, you just watch it in fragments and you just put it together in your head like a puzzle. But yeah, I always remember thinking that movie was cool. Diplomatic invincibility just been revoked. Kapow! Sergeant Murtaugh blew that South African guy's head off, or shot him in the head. That's like one of my I don't know. It's one of the most quotable lines from 80s action movies. You know what? Another thing I noticed, some of the okay, Lethal Weapon 1, it came out in I believe 1987, and then Die Hard came out in 1988. And I wonder like how influenced Die Hard was by Lethal Weapon, because like some of the same actors were villains in in the two movies, like the Asian guy who he was like hanging around downstairs with the like at Nakatomi Plaza. Like there was the guy with the like the black guy with the glasses who was like the computer nerd, and he'd be like making, you know, comedic commentary while the police were getting massacred. It was the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring except, you know, whatever he said. SWAT team approaching in 2x2 cover formation. It looks like the police have themselves an RV. Like he was just like, he was like the funny man of the group. And then there was the Asian guy. And then there was the let's see, there was the business suit guy who acted like the hotel clerk. But the Asian guy, he was the guy who tortured Martin Riggs in the scene where they met up in the desert, and then Martin Riggs was flanked and ambushed by the general guy. And then also Die Hard, Lethal Weapon started off with a Christmas song, and Die Hard also did, and it's just like, I don't know, maybe those are flimsy parallels, but I just noticed it when I was watching it, and then like all the creepy nude scenes showed up. I don't know. It was like Lethal Weapon. I just feel like it's weird. It just feels so contrived. It's like, oh, feel sorry for this guy. Feel sorry for him. Feel sorry for him. Although I did like the acting when he was about to blow his head off, and he had the gun in his mouth. That was interesting how Mel Gibson could just cry like that and like on cue. Trying to think of like what some specific examples of what felt weird to me. Like I always feel like there was a sense of improvisation in the conversations between Riggs and Murtaugh. Like Mel Gibson and Danny Glover were just riffing. But it just seemed like it was they were clearly less polished at it in the first movie. And also Mel Gibson didn't get rid of his Australian accent completely. Like you could pick up tinges of it. Alright, so let's see, what am I... Does that look smooth and natural, perhaps? So let's go back to the outer frame. I guess it's pretty good. Maybe I should... Does it look too mechanical? That's what I want to know. The thing about looping sometimes is that it just looks rigid. Maybe I should have approached this differently. So let's see. If that's the middle point, and that's... Is that the middle point? Yes. Maybe this... Maybe it looks mechanical because... Wait a minute. So that's one extreme. That's the other extreme. Let me experiment with this for a second. Let's make these different colors so I can easily differentiate between the two. So let's see. I feel like sometimes I don't like to make the frame right before... I'm trying to explain this in a way that makes sense. Like in this frame, this leg is all the way up, and in this frame, this leg is kind of halfway between the low point and the high point. Sometimes I like to make the frame right before the high point closer to the high point than the middle of this frame and that frame. So like you would think these frames are this frame and that frame are one frame apart. So you would think that you just draw it right in the middle. But I find that often doesn't look smooth because like we're not, our movements aren't robotic. We don't move evenly. Like if I'm moving my hand, like if I put it to my left as far as I can go, and then I move it to the right, like it doesn't move evenly at the same speed. It moves from a stop position, then it speeds up, goes really fast, and then it slows down before it gets to the end. So if I make this foot more close to the part where it's gonna stop, it gives the effect that it's slowing down a bit. I think I'm gonna try that. So let's see. Why am I drawing in red? Oh, I need to draw in a color that I can see a little bit better. So blue is the future, and red is the past. Oh, come on, what are you doing here? Kind of weird looking legs. So let's see. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, like, I don't know, they're just... I feel like Martin Riggs' only flaw was that he was crazy, but like, it just seemed like when like a teenager acts like he's all moody and like is trying to get attention, so you know he acts out in a weird way. Like it just the way that Martin Riggs was crazy was just felt like it was written by a teenager who was really immature and trying to think of a way to get sympathy. And there was that one scene where Danny Glover was like, "Yeah, here, take my gun and blow your brains out." And then Martin Riggs took the gun and he was like, put it up against his chin. He was like pulling the trigger and he squeezed it all the way down, except for a millimeter before the hammer would come down and fire the bullet into his head, but then Danny Glover just snatches the gun out of his hand. It's like, what person would do that? Like, it just had like this weird no life experience type of vision of the world. That movie was written by Shane Black, and I feel like there have been a couple of movies where he was the writer that kind of had this weird immature interpretation or vision of the world. I feel like he was involved in one of the Predator movies. Let me look this up really quick. I know this is an animation thing, but was Shane Black the he directed The Predator in 2018. That was the one that got the horrible reviews. Yeah, everybody said that movie was stupid. I never saw it, but people ripped that movie apart. So Shane Black wrote The Predator and Lethal Weapon. And it's kind of interesting that both of those movies, I thought they were... Okay, Shane Black was Hawkins in Predator in 1987. He was an actor in it. He was the guy... Okay. Yeah, he was like... Yeah, in the 80s, I feel like there was this whole phenomenon where there'd be like a nerdy character, and they'd be like, oh, he's a total nerd, but he's okay because he likes comic books. Like, that was a cliche character in the 80s that just... It was a long time ago, and I'm having trouble coming up with examples, but I remember being younger and noticing that all the time. Like, there's always a nerd character, and he liked comic books. Or, like, there was, like, a murdering character who, he was, like, a cold-blooded killer, but he would go... But he quoted Shakespeare. Like, just having, like, a character like that read Shakespeare was always the cliche way of saying, oh, see, he's intellectual, he's sophisticated. And it was just like such a common trope. There was always the nerd who liked comic books, and there was the cold-blooded killer who liked Shakespeare. Yeah, so Shane Black was the nerd, the comic book guy who was fun-loving and liked comics in Predator, and then he went on to write a Predator movie. And he also wrote Lethal Weapon, which was kind of... I don't know. I just feel like there's a weird corniness that I associate with Shane Black. I think he was involved in writing Lethal Weapon, the Lethal Weapon sequels, but I got the impression that other people kind of worked with him on it. And maybe that's why I don't hate the Lethal Weapon sequels. That looks a little bit smoother to me. With this foot a little bit closer. Maybe I should redo these legs. Maybe it doesn't matter. It does look like it's moving oddly. Alright, so I'm gonna just clip those. I watched Predator. I was just talking earlier about how when I was growing up in like the 80s and 90s, most of the movies that I'd seen had been edited for television. And I watched Predator the other day for like the first time in years, and I noticed that Shane Black's character, like, he was just... There were like a lot of weird, corny sex jokes. Like, they were meant to be edgy, it seemed, but they were just like corny. Like, they were supposed to be raunchy, but it's just like, ugh. That like, I'm not offended by gross humor. I'm not offended by things that offend most people. But I was a little offended about how like corny and ugh. How dumb those sex jokes were. again, I don't like, I can appreciate a sex joke if it's written well, but man, this guy was just, ugh, it was just annoying. I don't know, I feel like Predator is a dying franchise. It's kind of interesting how Lethal Weapon, I hated the first one, but I love 2, 3, and 4. Predator, I love the first one, but Predator 2 was okay. I mean, it was, that's probably another one that I never saw the actual, I saw the director's cut. Maybe I should watch that. But I'm kind of in a Lethal Weapon mood. Maybe I'll watch Lethal Weapon 2, and then maybe I'll watch Predator 2 if I have time. Like if I don't want to stay up too late and or if I, Danny Glover was in Predator 2. The interesting crossover elements. Anyway, what I was saying was that I hate Lethal Weapon 1, but I like the sequels. I like Predator, but the sequels are kind of terrible. And then in Die Hard, I like the first one, but then the sequels all stink. And then there's like this other group of movies where it's like, I love Alien 1, 2, and 3, but the fourth one sucked. I like Indiana Jones 1, 2, and 3, but Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, ugh, gross. You could even make that argument for Star Wars, I think. I like the first 3. The first prequel, ugh, disgusting. How long have I been streaming? How do I normally tell? Oh, I go to my YouTube thing. 49 minutes. Okay. Does that look fluid? It's hard to tell with the colors changing. Giving myself a seizure over here. Let's do this one last frame and then I'll be done with this loop. Okay. So, what are we doing here? This frame is the midpoint. I'm just going to do this directly in between because it's at this point in the motion it should be like a fairly even movement. I'm no physicist, but it's kind of interesting how sometimes you can watch a movie and you can, as you're watching the movie, you can kind of get a feel for who wrote and directed the movie, like what kind of person they were. Like the Star Wars The Last Jedi, ugh. Obviously the person who did that was like, had an axe to grind against men or was trying to impress or get brownie points with women by making all the men bungling goofballs and all the women like, you know, they were just. I like to use the term tripping over the ottoman because like in sitcom television, there's just this history of bungling goofball men and like sassy smart housewives, and it's just like Dick Van Dyke. I'm not sure if he was the first one, but he was the first one that I was aware of, and he'd always be this goofball who walked into the room and tripped over the ottoman and fell on the ground for a stupid pratfall, and then everybody's like, "Oh, men are stupid," and then, but look, the woman is smart, and it's like, I don't know, every sitcom is like that. Like the man is borderline mentally retarded, but the woman, a freaking genius for some reason, every time. So I always refer to that as tripping over the ottoman. And it, like, Last Jedi just had this, you just had this weird phenomenon like that where all the men were just bungling goofballs. And all the women were like, girl power, girl crew. Let's show these men who really runs things. Like, it's like it was just so obvious that whoever was in charge was a man hater. Did you ever see those bumper stickers? Like, behind every good man is a woman rolling her eyes. Oh my god. Just. But yeah, like, Lethal Weapon, I just felt like that was kind of like a more immature, you know, man. Like, I don't know, I just get that vibe from the little I know about Shane Black. Alright, are we done with this cycle? Doesn't look horrible. I mean, it does look kind of rigid in the way that these loops always do look rigid. How long does this last? This is 0.6 seconds. How long does the do I need him to be kicking? So if that's 5.8 seconds, and that's 9. So let's see, that would be 8.8. That would be 3.8 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, should I mix this up a bit? I've been kind of debating about whether to do too much lip syncing, because if the more you hear the characters talk, the more you know what the thing is about, and I don't want to ruin it.
Yo, mom.
I feel like I want to add a little bit more variety. How do I do this? So let's see. I'm going to double this up. Actually, let's make another frame. I guess I watch a lot of violent movies. So this is the extreme one. I'm gonna add some variety by redrawing the extremes. So this should be the other extremity. Or is it this? I think I screwed this up. That looks right. Okay, so I think that should be good. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm just gonna reuse most of the frames, but let's see if I can exaggerate. Maybe I might have to do a little bit more drawing than I thought. Should I feel like I should do this frame too. And this frame. Because I already talked about how I wanted the previous frame before the extreme to be just right next to it, so it would seem like it was slowing down. So I'm gonna redraw those two. Alright, let's make this one red, and then the feature is blue. So the right foot should be up high. In between, like above those. Alright, so let's do this in yellow, I guess, or black or something that I can see easily. Come on, Dan, get out of here with your clumsiness. How should I do this? Look at these misshapen Idaho potato feet. And let's make this one more exaggerated in the other direction. delete that and that. How's that look? Looks a little bit more fluid. Hopefully less mechanical. I always thought it was weird how at the end of Lethal Weapon 1, they're just like, yeah, let's just fight in somebody's yard. You want to shout at the champ? Like, what? Like, they were, like, Riggs just had no flaws. Except for his teen angst craziness. There's like this interaction between the captain and like the police psychiatrist or whatever. I can't remember what they said exactly, but I just remember feeling like it was really cringy. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overly judgmental, but to me it just felt weird at the time. I wonder if I watch Lethal Weapon 2 later, I'm just gonna be like, oh, this is trash. Like, I just hate all the movies now that I'm years older than when I originally saw them. I feel like most movies that I like when I was a teenager, like I still like all the Indiana Jones, or the first 3 Indiana Jones movies. I still like Aliens. I was watching. I saw this YouTube video about how the TV series with Jamie Foxx. I never actually watched an episode because I think I may have watched like a clip of it, and it was just like, it just seemed corny, and I didn't want to, like, I wasn't interested in pursuing it. But I guess the guy who was playing Martin Riggs was just like a psycho and had anger management problems or something on the set, so they fired him. It's kind of weird how, like, the guy who plays Riggs in both cases had behavior problems. Like, Mel Gibson had his famous meltdown where he called that woman sugar tits, and he was I feel like he said some anti-Semitic things too. I think he said, like, he accused the Jews of running the world or something, or running Hollywood, or like he just had some controversial statement. And then this guy from the TV show had all kinds of problems with his coworkers and got in trouble and got fired. But I don't know, I never really watched that show anyway, so I guess I kind of got used to Mel Gibson as Riggs, and I didn't really want to see anybody else play him. Like, maybe if they made it a little bit closer to the original cat, like they made Riggs have this weird mustache, and I don't know. I don't like characters that are cool. I think that's what I don't like about Riggs in the first movie. I mean, I guess in the other movies he's cool, but it's almost like he becomes a cartoon character at that point. Alright, let's see. How does this look? I think it looks a little bit more organic and less repetitive. Why does that look weird? I hate when the program changes my ink color on me. Wait, what the hell? Maybe that's just an indication that I was drawing on the wrong layer. Alright, so this one I believe is the opposite. So wait, this one should be this one. So let's make this leg much more exaggerated. Yeah, just adding a little variety makes it, you know, helps a lot in terms of making it look less mechanical. Okay, so this one's about down here. So then this one should probably be even more exaggerated. Is that too much? I feel like it's noticeably, like it's so exaggerated that you start noticing the pattern. Maybe I'll try that, even though it's kind of like... Okay. I'm getting cold. I'm gonna get a coat. I always use my winter coat as a blanket, and I put my arms through the sleeves like a Snuggie. I started this episode by babbling about movies, but then I just lost all interest in everything I was saying. I'm dumb. I'm just gonna stop talking. Does this look... What? Why does this feel so... I probably talk about movies way too much anyway. If you ever watched any of these streams, you probably heard me make the same exact arguments about movies over and over again. Like I'm Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan talks about the same stories all the time. But I don't really mind listening to him tell some of the same stories. Sometimes when you hear the same story again, the person telling it adds a little bit more context or adds something that he didn't say the first time. Where was I? Come on, Dan, quit checking your Facebook on the live stream. Back to work. Eric Clapton, when he's playing guitar, he would often go... No, how did it go? And when I first started playing guitar, I was learning that Crossroads Blues song, and that had it in it. And like when I was playing guitar a lot when I was younger, I'd often like play a similar structure to that. Like I always thought that phraseology was interesting. Now I try to avoid that a little bit more because I try to say more interesting things on the guitar. But, you know, occasionally I go back to it. Yeah, now that the frames are starting to get fleshed in, it doesn't bother me. Like, it still looks like a loop, but it's a more interesting loop. Okay, so now I need to do... Let's make this blue. The future is blue. As I keep saying, for some reason. Alright, so let's see. Look how, like... And I'm so inconsistent sometimes. Like, this foot is all long and Twinkie-like, but this foot is like... It's all potato-y. Let's add a little bit of length to that foot. You know what they say about a man who's got big feet? He's probably a clown. As my friend once said. I got it. Draw with the color you can see, Dan. You always do the same mistake every time. I tend to like winding musical phrases. Seems like when I draw and I'm zoomed out too much, you get this like rippling, crinkle cut line. Where did you get that line, Dan? The Ruffles Potato Chip Factory? Your crinkle cuts. Where'd you learn how to animate? Oh, phooey. I was showing my cartoons to my friend's cousin the other day, and because he was taking animation classes and he wanted to see some of my work, and his father was there and he was like, "Oh, your cartoons are so violent," and I guess my cartoons are pretty violent. And then I was thinking, like, all the movies I was talking about, they're all violent, like the 80s action movies were. I mean, it's an action movie. But sometimes, like, those movies to me are better because there are consequences. I don't like when you're just watching Superman and some other superhero just punching each other and the punches don't matter, and it's just like violence should be disgusting. Violence should be gross. It should turn people off because that's what it does in real life. Like, if I feel like if you're just having a Chuck Norris TV show where he's punching and kicking people and then they don't even have bruises, I feel like that glorifies violence. But if like violence is disgusting, it's like that's what it should be like. You don't want to encourage violence. I feel like that's what what's the guy who made RoboCop? I forget his first name, but his last name is like Verhoeven. That's kind of like what he was saying in this documentary about the making of RoboCop. It's like violence is supposed to be unsettling. That's what, like, a weird thing about these people nowadays who need safe spaces and they need censorship just to function. They want to edit like the N-word out of Huckleberry Finn. It's like, you know, you're supposed to be aware of how unpleasant reality is and how unpleasant history is, so you don't repeat the mistakes of, you know, that happened in the past. And it's just like, I read somebody was quoting Dave Chappelle on Twitter the other day, and it's like, you have to let people say unpleasant things so that future generations know what unpleasant speech is. Like, it just seems like if you're if all the unpleasantness is edited out of society and people aren't used to hearing something that's unpleasant, then what if some deranged person is unpleasant and people don't? I don't know, maybe that's just a weird way of looking at it, but like, there's certain subtle forms of evil. There's certain subtle forms of evil speech. And if you've gone your whole life without differentiating between what is evil and what isn't, maybe you'd be more easily manipulated by the subtle evil. Alright, I think we're about done with this. I forgot something. There's a pocket right here on this character's shirt. But does it even matter, though? Should I go back and edit that in? Probably. I think I'm just gonna skip it. So let's see, I'll move all these down to condense it into one layer. So let's see. Excuse me, didn't mean to burp in front of the microphone. Oranges just make me burp. I was trying to eat some oranges today because I was thinking about what I'd been eating the last couple of days, and I just, like, it's all been garbage. I mean, except for the when I got to go to my friend's. I went over to eat dinner at my friend's house the other day. And that was better than what I'd been eating, but apart from that, I feel like I've been going to like McDonald's too much and eating trash food. So today I just went to the store and I was like, I'm gonna get some oranges. Because I was just feeling crappy, like I was just feeling a general sense of unease. It's like maybe it's because I'm not eating any vitamin C. I'm just eating garbage, Cumberland Farms and McDonald's, and I've noticed that I've been putting on a lot of weight. Like, I'm the fattest I've ever been in my entire life lately. Maybe I should like start running or something. Because I don't know, for like the past 5 years, I've barely gotten any exercise at all. I used to go hiking all the time, but then I was having problems with my knees and my feet and my hips being worn out. And then like a month ago, I started hiking, but I stopped for some reason. I need to start that again. Because I don't know, I just felt really out of shape just from walking in the woods. And it wasn't even a difficult hike either. I felt pretty pathetic. How long have I been doing this? An hour and a half. So maybe I'll end this episode in another half hour and then I'll restart the stream. Just so it doesn't get too large in size, and I don't know. I'm afraid it's gonna crash if I let it. Is that the right color? I guess so. Maybe, I do want to do some drumming today. Maybe around 2 or 3 o'clock, I'll play some drums, and then for an hour, and then I'll come back. I like it. Well, it's not perfect, but alright, so now I'm gonna do the part where he falls on the floor. Do I need this still? Oh yeah, I want that yellow head as a guide. I didn't really check to see if my sound was coming through, but it looks like it's coming through. How should I do this? I only have 3 frames to get this done. Just draw a sketch on this layer. I kind of didn't make this easy for myself, in that these frames are very different, and I only gave myself 3 frames to get from this to that. So I feel like I need him to be Should it be higher? Yeah, my friend's nephew said he was taking an animation class. I wonder where. I didn't bother to ask. Maybe I could get a job as an animation teacher. But then again, my animations are all like I was just saying, they're all violent and deal with blue subject matter. Maybe no school would want to associate with me. With my work, anyway. Adobe, I think he said that he animated in Adobe Illustrator. I'm not really familiar with that. Maybe I should. If that's like an industry standard program. His hip. Maybe his hip should be here. Come on, Dan. Get it together. I'm just gonna move it over like that a little bit. Does it matter if he's on his back when he starts laughing? Not so sure that it does all of a sudden. He could start laughing before he... I don't necessarily need to do this in 3 frames. I'll just worry about making it look natural, and then whatever happens, whatever point he's at when he lands on his back, then I'll just lip sync it from there, I guess. I kind of feel like I want his arm to be swooping, like rubbery spaghetti arms. That pocket is much bigger than that. I'll have to resize that. I want him to look a little bit stretchy. Starting to get hungry. Maybe when I finish this, I'll take a break, and then I'll get some food, and then I'll come back, and then I kind of want to do the drums around 3 o'clock or so. Because I like to drum during the day because I don't know, if I drum too early, I feel like I'm gonna wake people up. And if I drum too late, I feel like I'm gonna ruin their dinner or keep them from sleeping. Should I even bother? This black part out here is outside of the frame, so I don't think I'm even gonna draw a face on there. It's just gonna be the Michelin Man face. There we go. How does that flow? Yeah, I want more frames. I'm not gonna... When does the laughter start here? So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 frames after this shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here, I'm gonna import the sound effect because laughter is not gonna give away the plot. I think I put all my sound effects up at the top. Steven laughs, is that it? This could get annoying. I think I would like... kind of talked about squashing and stretching a while ago, but basically in cartoons where the characters look like less detailed and more minimalist, animators often animate them like they're made out of rubber, and so like if a basketball is falling, it's kind of spherical shaped, but then as it approaches the earth, it kind of elongates a little bit, and then when it hits the ground, it squashes down. And this is an exaggeration, but that's kind of like what happens. So like with people, like I often make them squash down like a basketball a little bit, make them all rubbery. Anyway, squashing and stretching is like an animation term that, I mean, I've never gone to school for this. I kind of figured everything out myself from reading books and stuff, or reading one book, really. Maybe two. But the Disney Animation Studio book used to talk about squashing and stretching and a lot of other animation terms and techniques. Let's see if this works. This should probably be lower. Does that look okay? didn't really look good. Why did it not look good? Huh. Maybe because I didn't do something. Maybe I need to exaggerate it more and add more frames. It looks like he just hits the ground like a ton of bricks. I might need to experiment with this a little bit more. His butt looks stupid there. I feel like I'm doing a really terrible job with this, but I often have trouble with the squashing and stretching part. Unless it's a fat person that's round, like it's easier to do that technique with a round shaped person versus a not so round person. Like the closer you are to a basketball shape, the easier it is, I think. I kind of want... What happens if I scale this that way and scale that way? And take this one. Oh, you know why? It's probably looks like a ton of bricks because I didn't do the... Oh, that looks better. There needs to be space in between the point of lowest compression. Maybe one more. Makes sense. I'm a little bit slow on the uptake. It takes me a minute or two to figure out things sometimes. this cycle to happen a little bit later. Yeah, that looks good. I like the movement of that. Looks better to me. Should I make another frame in between these two? Let's see what it looks like. Let's just make the future blue. And then the past is already red. Alright. So how do I want to do this? Let's blob it up. So his body is should be about here. And then this foot. Let's make his legs. So maybe and his head should be something like that. That's alright. Maybe I should slow it a little bit. Maybe I will add one more frame. I like that a little bit better. Alright, so now I'm gonna draw the details on this blob guy. Wait a minute. Why does it say? Okay, I think I thought I mislabeled that for a minute, and right, and I was confused by the label, but I think I understand why I wrote that there. All right, Dan, focus, you jerk. This is what I'm looking for right here. Let's use this as a guide. I think I was gonna start using the two blob system to do this guy's head. Let's color this in blue. So let's see. I've been drawing him with like angrier looking eyebrows. I feel like he doesn't look the same without. Kind of takes away some of the. Well, his face is going to be covered up by his arm here. So I don't have to get it perfect, because I'm just going to erase whatever is behind the arm. The old pockets. There's kind of like a shirt thing there. Which is more entertaining, or which is it like annoying when I'm babbling about movies? Or is it boring when I'm talking less? Like, which would make it this more entertaining? Should I be babbling about my day? Or should it just be quiet and we're just like narrating the techniques that I'm using? How does that look? I kind of made his foot really pointy, but nobody's really going to see his feet because they're outside of the frame. I think I can delete this now. Let's make the past red. Future still blue. How do I want to do this? So I make this really squashed. How does that look? If this frame is squashed the most, then his head should extend beyond. Come on, didn't I select yellow? What the hell are you doing, computer? I'm selecting yellow. Alright, so his head should expand beyond the limits of what it was in the previous frame. What the... So let's see. So his ear should come out like that. I think I'm still not sure if I want to how many frames should be in between these. Have I been saving this? Figure this part out. I'm gonna make this closer to come on, Dan. What's wrong with you? I'm never consistent with my line thicknesses. Sometimes I just use really skinny lines, and then the next frame I use fat lines, and it's like, come on, Dan, get your H out of your A. So, let's see. Yeah, sometimes there's just a lot of experimentation. You kind of know the fundamentals, and then, I don't know, sometimes it's just about how good does it look. Does it look natural? Let's make this all red. So let's see. I'm coming back from the squash, so... Okay, so let's see. Should be close to what it's going to end up as. How much time have I been doing this for? This is the 2-hour mark. Should I just finish this and then... It's not going to take me 2 hours to do these 3 frames. I'll just finish this and color it in, and then... Oh, you know what? Because I still have to lip sync the laughing movements. I guess I'll pause it here and I'll get some food, and then I'll come right back. So I will be back in like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Alright, I'll be right back.